It's simple. If a serpent bites its tail, it will never let go unless it is well kicked. You've come here, so it hasn't occurred for you to do so yet. You've come here. That's how I know what you want. It's simple. The dragon is also a serpent, and like all serpents, it's proud and vain. It weaves an endless silver, admiring its own reflection in its scaly mirror, but doesn't see that. Are you seriously trying to make sense of this? I'm just riveting nonsense to avoid the question.
Hello everyone. Do you know what I really like? Lessons. I love them. You know what I also like? Skyrim mods. Shocking statements only on this channel. I love it when a Skyrim mod is able to twist the neurons inside my head to make me think of something else other than the succulent Chinese meal clip.
A succulent Chinese meal?
So, for today, I decided to play a Skyrim mod that asks the real hard-hitting questions. To commit or not to commit ecocide. To poison or not to poison thy neighbor. And most importantly, brain rot accents. Are they or are they not a detriment to the human race? Stay tuned to find out.
Oi, what a serious good-looking traveler me got in Michelle.
Diggity, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Carved Brink is a mod made by the same development team that also made Project Aho. Fun fact, it seems that the remastering of Oblivion has caused a ripple effect in our current timeline, as after 6 years of inactivity, this development team has once again started posting new mods for Oblivion Remastered. Truly fascinating times. I cannot wait to see what will happen after the Morrowind remaster hits. On to Carved Brink then. Released in 2019 and barely touched since, Carved Brink is the critically acclaimed spiritual successor to Project Aho, which I will also cover at some point in the faraway future. This is supposed to be the point where I give a bunch of disclaimer warnings, but the mod is very lighthearted, so here is a spoiler warning and a reminder that impressions can be deceiving. And with that, let's get into the analysis of Carved Brink, the Skyrim mod where choices don't matter.
What? You got me there. Wait a minute. You be serious?
To begin our adventure, we need to head to the abandoned grotto after reaching level 10. There, we can find 3 Kajjit talking about their recent dealings with the Thalmor.
Kajjit are not present for mischief down by there. Rehousing and Bandari are here for trade, with Nords and the friends.
When we talk to them, they inform us that they are members of the Bandari, a clan of Kajjiti peddlers and merchants with a shaky code of ethics. After talking to them for a while, they give us moon sugar and the option to either use the sugar, lie about using it without actually using it, or telling them that we will have it later. If we tell them that we will have it later, the Kajjit get offended that we did not sample their goods.
Rehousing is offended by the townbiter's reluctance to taste his wonderful sugar.
If we lie to them, then they immediately call us out on our bold-faced lie.
Townbiter wants to offend Rehousing by taking the sugar and not giving a single leak.
And if we actually have the sugar, then they admit that it is actually poison ordered by the Thalmor.
Foolish Townbiter. Townbiter should know Bandari always have the best goods in their possession. And if Thalmor asks Bandari to provide some sugar that kills, the sugar will kill.
It doesn't seem to be lethal for the Dragonborn, but no matter which option we choose, the Kajjit will then attack the Dragonborn. Keep this interaction in mind. It will be an ongoing motif throughout this mod. It seems that the Brink in this mod is already carved for us. We can loot the keys to the grotto from one of the Bandari guards and kill the remaining Kajjit inside this area. And then we can enter the house inside the grotto called the House of Arcane Arts. Here is something I have to point out. This subplot about Kajjit selling poison moon sugar to the Thalmor ends at the point where you enter this house. There are letters scattered around the Bandari camp and in the inventories of the Kajjit themselves, hinting at a greater plot and an abandoned shipwreck. However, those plans were scrapped during the mod's development. So, this is hereby the end of the Kajjiti subplot. Inside this house, we can make our way to the upper floor, where we will meet our sidekick for the rest of this mod.
Oi! Heya! Good looking. Fine muscle. Wait a minute. Let's have a talk.
Ah, Imp.
Name's Imp. Sabina?
Imp is a talking shell who is presumably immortal. Initially, he used to live in the Shivering Isles, according to him, but then a powerful high elf mage called Sinmiaran kidnapped him and brought him to his house, which is this house, and there he kept him for the purposes of research.
Bang! Ain't no sun shining. It's Sinmiaran shining his shiny smile. Then the elf's grabbing me, waves back to the mud crab, and leaves. For good.
According to him, this happened more than 1,000 or maybe even 2,000 years ago.
This a kind of magic. Me's here for 2,000 years. Or 1,000. Frankly, no clue. Too hard to count days when not occurs. Looking for a place to place your good-looking bones? Methinks Sinmiaran won't show up for some time, so here's this place. Have it.
Imp tells us that if we free him, he will show us the location of a large treasure, which is apparently in the possession of a person called Geleada. But he also admits that after being locked away for so long, he doesn't know where Geleada is. So he also mentions that in order to find her, we have to ask a bunch of goblins about where she is.
So this Geleada hottie surely was snooping around, but me didn't see her lately. Ya and I need someone who has fresh intel. Goblins be fine. So, yeah, opening the portal, right? Me waits.
Imp's conversation gives us so much to digest. If he is from the Shivering Isles, why did this Sinmiaran guy kidnap him? Why would goblins know where a person called Geleada is? How come goblins can talk now? And presumably, for him to be so confident that Geleada is still alive, this means that Geleada is also immortal. So who is this Geleada anyway? Furthermore, Imp is a vehicle for an insane amount of references and fan service.
So this were in Alessian order times. These Marukati selectives, lads and lasses. I'm gathering in the tower, trying these dance moves.
He references a lot of stuff, all the way from the Sharmat, the Shivering Isles DLC, and even Fallout 76 from time to time.
Take me home, country boy. Or was it the road?
Like here, for example, he's puzzled by our inability to open up a portal to the goblins. A note to the fact that 2,000 years ago, during the events of ESO, a lot of people could just open up portals to anywhere.
Oh, come on! What are they teaching you these days?
This factor, along with his accent and his overall way of speaking, make him a bit of a divisive figure. I must admit that the first time I heard him speak, I just didn't like him. It's too Lamau XD random silly vibes. Anyway, here is a random Glen Morio reference, followed by a Lamau XD emoji. But in time, I was able to at least tolerate him and not mind his quirks. Because we don't know how to open up a portal, Imp tells us to open Sinmeria's safe box where we can find his journal that contains within it the means to open up a portal to go where the goblins are. By the way, I should note, we don't open the safe box, we enter the safe box. Pretty neat. There we can find a spell called True Path, and of course, Sinmiaran's journal. The following has been recorded by Sinmiaran of Shimmerin, whom, by his right, belongs to the most ancient king of Aldmer, titled as the last keeper of the Torhamekart Sanctuary, also the beloved son of Oriel, as well as the brightest and cleverest heir to many lands, the brilliant mind, the talented rhetorian, etc. etc. Before beginning my current experiment, I decided to start dearizing my endeavors, because, as you know, every genius magician dearizes their endeavors while attempting to complete their magnum opus. In here, I shall describe each stage of how I created an epitome of my ideas, to use these notes as a basis for a major and sagacious book. They say every one of the Somerset's sapiarchs compose such a book, a dissertation. Only the really important research material and profound treatises can be called dissertation, and to have one's name on the cover of such a book is the greatest honor one can achieve. But I am better than any sapiarch, so I shall write my dissertation without even joining the sapiarch college, because obeying social conventions is not something that would fit the last keeper of the Torhamekart Sanctuary. And if you are reading this now, here's something for your rejoicing. You will witness the greatest thing to happen for the first time since the Aldmeri victory over the goblins in Kingshaven Pass. So I decided to isolate a goblin tribe which hails from Tamriel in a secluded location.
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
Of course, I had considered using some island or secret cavern for this purpose, but whilst reading this book on Marian Zimas and his adventures, I was hit with a greater idea. Why would not I use one of the lesser planes of Oblivion? The only thing I had to do to achieve this was to get in contact with one of the princes or sovereigns of a lesser plane and make a deal. It was easy to find a Daedric cult in Sinmiaran. I used their help to conduct a very complicated ritual, which was a real test even for my unsurpassed mind and talents. So I struck a deal with what unbelievable luck. Turns out, selling my estate to those cultists was a terrific idea. Why in Oblivion would I even need that estate now, when I have a personal world, the Faceted Stones? There are huge, floating rocks here, and a fortress, and things like that. If anyone reading these lines finds the abundance of exclamation marks somehow peculiar, please forgive me. I was so overjoyed with everything turning out so well that my emotions got the better of me. I truly have a small part of Oblivion in my possession now. I would invite you to come over, but I have already sealed the entrance with protection magics. Protection magics of my own invention. Eye. The portal will remain closed until you speak the passphrase. The passphrase is as follows: rake, cake, brittles, tag. I choose this passphrase intentionally, for it sounds silly and means nothing, and there is no chance for someone to say it on accident. But if you're similar to me in any way, and a list of your habits includes speaking aloud text while reading or writing it, then the portal has apparently opened up behind you just now, especially if you're at the pond. If this is the case with you, please repeat the whole routine. Enter the pond and say rake, cake, Brittle's dog to shut the portal if it's open. Thank you. Inside Faceted Stones, you will find a tribe of goblins, which I have taken from Somerset. Provided you are reading this journal, I have most probably left for Faceted Stones sometime already. You have to search for me in my new domain. If I am not with the goblins, then I am probably visiting the fortress. Take a chance to enjoy the fruit of my experiments and try interacting with the goblins. You will be amazed by how smart they are. I am certain that you will have never encountered goblins as smart as these. I would even go as far as to say that these goblins are probably smarter than you. And if you are reading this sentence, then I am most certain that my goblins are smarter, because for whatever reason you are reading this sentence instead of going and seeing everything for yourself. I probably shouldn't put this line in my dissertation, but you enter the Faceted Stones now. I must share the delight of my discovery with you, and you need to share this delight with others.
Dude, this guy's fucked.
Okay, now we know why we need a portal to access the goblins. Sinmiaran brought them to an Oblivion realm so he can research their development in a new environment. And with the words to open the portal, we may now enter the Faceted Stones. The Faceted Stones are a pocket realm of Oblivion that borders the pits, Periite's Daedric realm, and the only way to navigate them is via the True Path spell we got in Sinmeria's safe box, or, if you are still playing Morrowind, levitation magic. An interesting approach to navigating, but does it practically work? Well, yes, asterisk. It gets confusing with the quest markers sometimes. Sometimes I felt like I needed to disable the quest markers altogether. They don't work very well here, but other than that, it was a fun gimmick. So where are the goblins?
There are two of them. Fellas from both prefer to live in mushrooms because living in shrooms sounds like a terrific idea. Even for a goblin.
Also, in our journey here, we are constantly attacked by corrupted souls. Keep these in mind for now. There is a lot of good loot in the Faceted Stones, and plenty of unique treasure chests that require specific materials found in the Faceted Stones to be opened. There are also a lot of Fulmer items here, and a fortress built in a strange elven architecture, which is interesting and definitely not foreshadowing. And as we traverse through the Faceted Stones, we are visited by a stranger who has this to say.
Welcome, a guest of Faceted Stones. I am wondering, are you capable of determining the natural order of things? Are you capable of making the right decision in difficult circumstances? Oh, nothing can be simpler. Here you are. 2 bottles. One contains deadly poison, and in the other, a cure. This medicine proves effective against a leprous sickness that raged Blackmarsh more than 1,000 years ago. Imagine these ghosts. Both suffer from this illness, but I, to my shame, forgot to add labels. What will you do?
Here we have three options. We can either give the bottles to the ghosts, dispose the contents of the bottles, or drink the contents of the bottles ourselves. If we choose to dispose the liquids, the stranger scolds us by saying this:
Is that all? A pity. However, I understand your unwillingness to take responsibility. Let's hope you haven't forgotten the formula for the cure. Or did you also entrust that to someone else? Still, thank you for participating in the game. It was quite educating. For now, I must leave. Hope to see you soon enough.
If we drink the liquids ourselves, the stranger scolds us again, but in a different way.
A very heroic deed. A very stupid one. Firstly, inside you now is perhaps the only dose of the cure, and the task did not imply you were sick as well. Secondly, no one of the attending ghosts has received your help. Thirdly, ingesting poison seems like something genuinely ineffectual.
And finally, if we give them the liquid, they get poisoned anyway. So think about it. What did we learn from this philosophical experiment? Anyway, after this encounter, we find the goblins for the first time. But these aren't your mama's goblins. They are nothing like the goblins we saw in Oblivion. These ones have their own language that, as of this moment, we don't know.
Mipta gurmuk amba babuki agisin. No iki borta, iki shuhi tutu ambo kotoi morisin.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Suspiciously, Imp seems to understand their language, and so he informs us of the following. 1. The goblins won't talk to us unless we speak their language. And 2. The goblins don't know where Geleada is either. To talk to the goblins, we need to blow on a peace pipe ourselves. A bit of a strange plot point, but does it work? Yes, we are now a goblin talking to Sinmiaran in the past. Through this memory, we learn that Sinmiaran had a memory stone that allowed him to talk with the goblins.
Great Toriel, I cannot understand a word of what you utter. Where is my memory stone?
We now have to go to the forgotten city of the snow elves to find said memory stone so we can be accepted by the goblin tribe. By the way, I should note that throughout all of this, Imp is acting very strange. At one point, he even leaves us and goes on his own for a grand total of 5 minutes. And the only reason that I can think of as to why he does that is to instill an element of suspicion to the player about him. And also, of course, to throw a bunch of Morrowind references around, like Divate Fear and the Hogitum.
Me thoughts you decided to hang in the fortress till the next Hogiton. Are we off to Geleada, or what? As me tells ya, me gone visit this fear fella. He sent ya hello. Also mentioned he'd like to meet in person.
So we make our way to the Elven city, which, by the way, it's called Abamath, and we are visited once again by the stranger from earlier, where he describes to us the fall of the previous inhabitants of the Faceted stones, the snow elves.
Welcome to Balmenisilia, also known by your predecessor, Sinmiaran, as Abamath. Time ago, this fortress was erected by outsiders. They arrived here the same way you did, but all great things come to an end, no exceptions. Though, I think you're the one wondering what happened to them. Well, of course you are. Let's take a look, shall we? Many important events in our lives begin quite insensibly. Disease, no exception. And it so happens that sometimes a disease strikes that does not look nor behave like usual disease, as is in this case. Clear was that there were symptoms in the form of numbed skin, dulled eyes, unnatural pallor of the face. But that came later. It began with gratuitous aggression and cruelty. but you will assume some behavior of your acquaintances as the manifestation of some disease. When healers suspected something was wrong, it was too late. The sickness worked fast. There was no cure for the victim's bloodthirst, as there was no cure for the survivor's fear. A tragic tale, isn't it? After some time, Abamath had ceased to be, but the sickness that had done it didn't vanish.
Now, Abamath is a place that has a lot to say. All of it is said through notes though, so I'm going to go on a little tangent right now and explain everything. First of all, and this has to be noted before everything else is said, if Carved Brink and Project Aho have one strength, that strength is called area design. You have seen it in the intro, you see it right now on screen, and whoa. You think Todd secretly looks at the community mods and he's just seething? He's like, damn it, why can't my interior design be this good? Okay, with that said, on to the written documents found in Abamath. These are broken into several categories. First of all, there are the notes left behind by the elves that once lived here. These letters showcase more than anything else the hostility that engulfed their community during the plague, with people stating how much they hate each other now, and that even after the disease was discovered, the healers were overwhelmed and their society slowly fell into decay. One other interesting thing to note is, okay, if they just started killing each other, wouldn't there be a point where at least some of them would be left? Because inevitably, someone would come out on top? To that statement, no. Some notes describe how they got rid of the bodies of their deceased in this pocket realm of oblivion, which turns out they got rid of the bodies by tossing them into the abyss, whereafter reports of dark misty spirits wearing elven gear would be spotted crawling through the walls of the fortress, which explains why the corrupted souls are here and why in the end no one won, as the corrupted souls just killed the rest. This was the first category of notes. The second category of letters, again, relates to the snow elves. So, when Sinmiaran was roaming this place, he couldn't help but ask himself, how come there were snow elves here to begin with? So he summoned the tormented soul of one of those snow elves and started asking it questions. The conversation they had is one that visibly pains the tormented soul, as it recalls their last days before they entered the Faceted stones. So, I assume that after X amount of years of playing Skyrim, we are all caught up to date with the snow elves and how they inevitably ended up becoming the Falmer. They sacked Sarthol, never forget by the way. Ysgramor came back with the companions. The snow elves were either killed or went into hiding with the Dwemer poisoned them, and thus the Falmer were created. Well, the conversation with the spirit describes the story, but it doesn't exactly say the point at which they open up a portal to the Faceted stones by contacting Periite. It can be assumed that at some point throughout their downfall, some of them decided to bail out and ended up here. However, their diet here consisted mainly of mushrooms, which eventually got them poisoned. Oh, the irony. No matter where they go, they end up getting poisoned. It is heavily hinted at this point, and later on as well, that it's the mushrooms that caused the plague, but there is no decisive proof of that. The third category of documents are dictionaries of the Goblin language made by Sinmiaran. It describes a lot of words, verbalisms, and some of the grammar of the Goblin people. So here I am collecting them, thinking I'm gonna be playing translator again. I am reading them, and my mind sparkles with the immense amount of insight that I'll be able to gather after collecting all the dictionaries and translating what the goblins have been saying up to this point. Nope, that doesn't seem to be possible. I can piece some words together, but unless there are some parts of the dictionary that I missed, I can't piece everything together. Not completely. Unfortunate, but we do find Sinmiaran's memory stone here, so from now on, we can talk to the goblins directly. Hey goblin, how about you start goblin
I've made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment, and I don't expect to be forgiven. I'm simply here to apologize.
Sorry, I kept that one in me for far too long. On our way back to the village, we are, for the first time, attacked by goblins with glowing eyes and a darker tone of skin. It seems that the disease that infected the snow elves so long ago is coming back for the goblins now, again hinting that something in the Faceted stones does this to them. Imp seems to agree that those goblins seemed infected.
Oi, good looking. Further we is, stranger things is. Me never seen such goblins. Me thinks they's infected.
And it seems that the infection might have moved faster than expected, as when we go back to the goblin camp, we get this scene.
I greet you again, traveler. As you can see, the plague that claimed the snow elves still exists today. This time, the goblins have fallen prey. The minds of these creatures are extremely susceptible and easily influenced. The sickness has forged something new in their perception, leading this community to split up and live apart. Today, the Blue Horn are mourning their deceased chieftain, killed by one of their own. And tomorrow they will turn against each other for the right to inherit the throne. Who knows where the aggression will lead them? Will the lasting bones be safe in their hollows below? Could someone save the elves? A folk once great and proud is now nothing but memories and shadows. Is such a fate prepared for the goblin kin? Who knows? Perhaps it is worth trying for the survival of their species. Aren't their lives worth fighting for? You must decide, dear guest. Would you cleanse this world from its plague?
Now we have the option to either spare the infected goblins or kill them to hopefully spare the rest of the tribe. I would like to take a second to appreciate something. The goblins have an extensive amount of dialogue to interact with. At any time, you can ask the infected ones and the healthy ones about the faceted stones, about their chief dying, the situation around the tribe themselves, and you can even catch conversations of the infected goblins talking about attacking the healthy ones. And another note, so far I have been presenting things in a very linear fashion, and this mod is pretty linear compared to other mods, but not always. In fact, there is another route you can take after finding Sinmiaran's memory stone, where you get to talk to the goblins before they get infected, essentially skipping the infection plot for a short while. In that time only, you can access limited time quests given to you by the goblins. I have finished this mod 5 times. It's not that big. And in all those times, I have only figured out how to access these quests once. If at any time after finding these memory stones, you decide to advance the plot, you are locked out of them, which is a shame because they are very well fleshed out, design-wise. Well, at least 2 of them are. In one of them, we get to go to Black Marsh and raid a gold mine to give the gold to the goblins. In another, we go to Olanville, yes that one, the one that got its own DLC sized mod, and we're tasked with killing a mammoth. And in the third one, and somehow the ball was dropped for this one, we board a ship that operates as a brothel styled around the Last Argonian maid story, where we have to find expensive items to give to the goblins. I guess what I'm trying to say is that a lot of effort went into what is by all means easily skippable side content. You can access these quests by talking to specific goblins and receiving special runes from them, which you can use to open up portals to the locations that these quests take place in.
This be goodest goods, Kotoki. Segnaki, Segnaki Kotoki. Garbage eater.
Damn, that's a massive spoon. You don't have to decide whether to kill the infected goblins or not just yet. Now the shaman of the village tells us that we have to contact the elder goblins, which live on the very top islands of the faceted stones, in order to gain a magical stone which he needs to create a special rune. Apparently, in an attempt to avoid a full-on civil war between the goblins, the infected goblins want to go somewhere else and start their own tribe.
We be different goblins now. Not like that. We live together. We be new tribe. We black spears.
And as we saw during the side quests, to do that, we need a rune, so we do exactly as the shaman says. The elders that live at the very top of the faceted stones inform us about a tree that houses the magical stones that we need, but it's guarded by a huge spider. I'm sorry, I meant to say it's guarded by an epic spider. Quickly, give her a YouTube thumbnail face and an MLG logo, right now. Yeah, now that's an epic spider. Now the shaman gives us the rune to somewhere where the infected goblins want to live. He also gives us a staff as a reward for helping him out so far. But where do these goblins want to go exactly?
We want Mr. and fire to be one, and stone to build things.
Okay, so they want a place that has mushrooms and plenty of fire and rocks. What place could that possibly be? Oh, how does this keep happening? The bodies of the people found here are both Morrowind references and indications as to where we are. We are here. Of course, Red Mountain has blown up since we were last here in Morrowind, so things here have gotten a bit hostile and dusty, as things usually tend to go after a volcano explodes and a meteor crashes into the earth. Now, theoretically, we can traverse through different locations in this region to find the most ideal environment for the goblins. And there is a location that is obviously pleasant for them, matching their description of an ideal new home perfectly. And even the goblins, when they move here after we complete the quest, they voice their excitement about this new location.
We live in peace without stupid killers. Have some spooky, have one, soon get spooky.
So, job well done, right? Right? The infected goblins have a new home, and the healthy ones get to stay in the Faceted Stones. Well, let me tell you something. One of the things that I have learned to observe after making these videos is the idea of subtext, an underlying and often distinct theme in a piece of writing or conversation. So let me give you some subtext about this quest. As we explore the Ashlands, we find abandoned camps with the corpses of their once residents now inside them. In these camps, we can find different notes that roughly paint a picture of what happened to their residents. So apparently there was like a love triangle here, maybe a love story gone wrong, and then there was an unexpected pregnancy. I don't know, don't ask me, I never got into Grey's Anatomy. Anyway, the TLDR is this: they killed each other. Using this information, and given that all we have seen so far in this region of Morrowind are literal corpses and hostile mobs, and given that we just sent about a dozen goblins that are infected, ill, neurotic, and only arguably equipped to live in a wasteland, how long do you think they'll last? I give them a month maximum before they either start killing each other, get killed by the ash spawns, and or both. So maybe the solution was just to kill them all along? Well, let us enter the last area of the mod and figure out what this journey has really been all about. At the top of the island where the older goblins live, we can find a portal that takes us directly to the borderlands between the Faceted Stones and the pits. The moment we approach the portal, the stranger begins to talk to us on the decisions we have taken when it comes to dealing with the goblins. If we ignore the issue or rehouse them, he says this:
well, in some cases the inertia is the most appropriate choice.
And if we kill the goblins, he has this to say:
you managed to make a difficult decision. Right or wrong, time will tell.
Now we can enter the portal and access the borderlands of the pits. From here on out, the interior design transitions from simply impressive to eye candy, at least for Skyrim engine standards. There are two locations we can access while at the borderlands of the pits, and those two are Geleada's Pond and another location called Kynreeve's Alcazar. I'm gonna start with the Kynreeve's Alcazar because, as we will see, plot-wise, it makes the most sense. The entire area resembles an infected fortress, which, given that we are close to the Daedric plane of the Lord of Plagues, shouldn't come as a surprise. Even Imp comments on his shock by the fact that the player character isn't immediately knocked out.
So many dead. Good looking. Are you immortal or what?
Yes, but actually no.
In the throne hall, we can finally get to see the man behind the mask that has been talking to us since the start of the mod.
Greetings, my dear guest. It is always a pleasure to meet you in person, and I've been expecting this particular meeting with great aspiration.
Kynreeve are essentially high-ranking Dromora, and in this dialogue, he even has a unique interaction if you completed Periite's stage request in Skyrim.
I've heard my master is not so well known in Tamriel, but your question surprises me, provided you have met him before.
He also admits the reason why he has been giving us the history lessons throughout our time in his realm.
Goblins are as much a guest here as you. My treatment towards them is appropriate. They do not bother me. As nor did Sinmiaran or the Falmer. All I do is observe the occurrences and share the stories with my guests. Is there a reason that suggests someone is bothering me?
Okay, not much of a lesson there, huh? Fine. What does he have to say if we choose to spare the goblins?
Oh, will they? and you don't want to secure them in any way, even slightly. Well, I must say it's not the decision I had expected. Has our initial conversation fallen short? What idea did I try conveying to you then? If able to take responsibility, take it. Thus spoke Lord Periite.
Okay, so he tells us what we already figured out. Maybe they aren't built for the wilderness. So the lesson seems to be that if you can't take responsibility, take it. So what happens when we do take responsibility and kill the goblins?
Dear guest, the Blue Horn affliction is a Blue Horn's business. Once again, you meddle in others' affairs, yelling about a reward you deserve.
Dude, like, my favorite part of Carved Brink is when Joe Brink said it's carved Brinkin time and then proceeded to carve Brink all over the place. Either way, one thing leads to another and the conversation ends with us having to fight his champion. Here is the thrilling final boss fight of Carved Brink.
You know what? I've changed my mind. Watching this duel, I thought I would like to warm up a bit. And you seem to be able to provide me some good entertainment. Well, at least you're still breathing.
Upon trying to exit the area, another Kynreeve approaches us and says this.
What's going on in Faceted Stones? The Kynreeve in charge of this plane suddenly loses his bodily incarnation, and the other kin feel it. You were the one who did this, weren't you? What a curious specimen you are. Unfortunately, I have no time for you. We must investigate, you see. I see a silent question in your eyes. Who am I, and what's going on? You see, Prince Paralyte, our lord, lucubrates on more pressing issues. He has no time to attend some border plane of the pits, so I take charge. Name's Markinaz Trikriura. I visit the stones every couple of centuries. Until then, don't you interfere, mortal. The Kynreeve's Alcazar will be sealed until all circumstances are clarified.
Okay, do you ever just think that maybe we were the bad guys this whole time? The only thing to do here is to find Geleada by entering her pond in the pit borderlands. This is Geleada.
You again. I did not expect to see you here. I thought we had everything discussed.
What do you mean? I've never been here.
Oh, you've been. And you haven't been. Well, the thing is, you were here before. What, are you expecting me to prove that? Well, it'll be easy. You are here to ask about the treasure.
Oh hi, I'm here to ask about the treasure.
Well, what did I say? The cycle is infinite, therefore predictable. Sure, I'll give you the treasure. No time to waste. Here, bye. See you next time.
I have killed the Kynreeve.
Do you like shiny trinkets? When I last visited Tamriel, they were a big deal. Has anything changed since? But no, I give them to you for no particular reason, and not because you killed the Kynreeve. I have them plentiful. I can give a few sacks.
What are you trying to say?
What counts most is not what awaits you at the end, but rather what you encounter on your way, right? New acquaintances? Adventures? Yes. To every you who comes my way, I say. I hope today has become clear to you. Kynreeve tried to play god of faceted stones, and look where that got him.
I cannot believe it. This is the first time I will make this joke and it will actually have context behind it. I would like to say that it seems that the real treasure of the pits were the friends we made along the way. Speaking of which, what happened to Imp? Wait, how did you get legs?
Okay, here's the thing. Me spoofed ya a bit. Me heard ya coming, so me had to act like me stuck in the cage. me had to reach Geleada, for real. And me could use some help, obviously. Good looking simply were around.
So you deceived me?
Deceived is a harsh word. Were more like keeping details back, you see? Me's no ill intentions, just had to be careful. Me weren't familiar with ya.
Okay, so in short, there are no lessons, no right options, and even the friends we made along the way lied to us. This is devastating to me. I'm crying right now. If you are wondering what Geleada is, and how come she knew that we would come, she left a note for us to read. Apparently, she's a Patru of Black Marsh, which is an Argonian tribe of the region that is morphed more like a toad, and not so much like a lizard, and they are also connected to the Hist even more than regular Argonians. The Hist experiences time differently than other species, and due to their stronger connection to the Hist, so do the Patru. It is not so much the case that she can see the future, more so it seems to be the case that she experiences time through the eyes of the Hist, and the Hist experiences time in a non-linear manner. However, after the events of the Floating City books, video on those coming eventually, Geleada was left homeless because a giant city started sucking the land and the souls of its inhabitants, and after wandering for a few years, she ended up here. So, what did we learn today, class? Not everything is a lesson, that's what we learned. Sometimes, the only outcomes available to us are the worst ones. You can have the perfect schedule set up for your day. So you wake up in the morning, get out of your home, attempt to cross the street, and get hit by a car. So you instead decide to stay home and do some chores. But you forget the iron on top of the clothes as you are ironing them, thus causing a house fire that ends up killing both of your cats. See, sometimes stuff just happens. Don't think too much on it. The cats sure didn't. And I think that this is why this mod has a bit of a mixed reputation. From the discourse I have seen on it, people seem to have mixed feelings on it. And I feel like if it had a happier ending, it would have been a lot more well received. But I can't help but appreciate it for what it is and what it's trying to do. And yeah, you could argue that some of the themes are a bit too on the nose. And you might also think that some of the creative decisions are a bit questionable, but I can't help but enjoy its charm. As I said, I finished it 5 times, and I kept finding little details every time I replayed it. Is there anything else to say? No. This time I don't have any lessons or deep insights to share. Hopefully, next video will have some more headaches for you. But for now, thank you so much for watching this video. I'm gonna go cross the street now. Until next time, see you later.